Alright, today we're going to rekey a Kwikset keyed entry doorknob. We got us a current operating key that works right now and the key that we're going to change it to. Got our Kwikset Wiser 236 builder keying kit. Inside we have a cylinder removal tool with a forked end and what we'll call a pointy end. Got our extra long Allen wrench for lever handle doorknobs when needed, and we got our Kwikset Wiser key gauge labeled 1 through 7, even though this kit only deals with 1 through 6, pins 1 through 6. These tools don't come with the builder's keying kit. You have to purchase them separately. They're fairly cheap. Some instructions inside of our kit. Got nice little labels that show us what everything is and where everything goes. Okay, so we got our bottom pins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're typically color-coded, but some of these pins are getting on. You can see the tint red, obviously. These are more greenish. These are like a magenta color. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bottom pins, right? Then we get our master pins, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for master keying. And then we got our top pins. There you go in your spring housing. Got some springs for your top pins. Here you got C-clips for doorknobs, and you got E-clips for deadbolts. Show you what they look like. Knob plug kit clip. Deadbolt plug clip. C-clip, E-clip. Alright. Got a plug follower used to remove the cylinder. Got some spring covers for your top pins. PK balls for a different kind of master keying. And that's it. Alright. Now we got our key here that works. I put a yellow tag on it. That's the key that currently works, as you can see. Turns the lock. This is the key that we're gonna key it to. It does not work right now. Alright. Key that works. So we're going to start this with no key, and the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to remove the center spindle right here. Now, it's got this tab right here, right on the center spindle. Sometimes it's black plastic, sometimes it's brass. It all just depends. It's all the same thing though. Got a little tab right here. Right now, it's facing in the wrong direction. We got to get that tab to point directly at that screw post right there. And the way we do that is we take our cylinder removal tool, the pointy end, and we rotate this so that this tab is now facing directly at that screw post, right? Now, not this end, not the side with the spindle that we just aligned with the post, but on the other end, underneath here, there is a little releasing tab that we use to get that center spindle out of there. The way you got to do that is you take your pointy end of your cylinder removal tool and you put it in this direction. You put it in between the post and your housing, right? And we're going to turn so that now it will be lying flat. tab under there. It's hard to pick up on camera right now, but there's a tab under there. And see, we could actuate it. See, that's a releasing tab. We push all the way in, and it'll allow your center spindle to come right out of there. Right? Alright, we got our center spindle out of there. Our next step is going to be to remove the cylinder from the knob. So how we're going to do that is we're going to take the forked end of our cylinder removal tool, and we're going to stick it in that hole where that center spindle just came from. You have to start at this angle right here because there's a trap little door right here, and I'll show you. We need our removal tool to get the cylinder out, but it actuates, it'll release that. So what we got to do here is we use our forked end, and we got to come at this kind of an angle, right? Pretty much resting on that screw hole. Use it to wedge that little trap door to the side. That way you could bottom out your cylinder removal tool. Now, give it a little bump, and your cylinder comes right up. Take your cylinder removal tool out because we're going to need it here in a second. Now, I showed you earlier the C-clip. This is a C-clip. I showed you they're used for doorknob cylinders, right? So, we got our forked end of our cylinder removal tool, and we got that C-clip. It goes around here and holds the cylinder into the cylinder housing, right? You want to look for the open tangs, and we'll use this tool to jimmy it out. Let me see if I could show you an example using this. Let's try this. Okay, you got this C-clip that holds your cylinder into your cylinder housing. You're going to use the forked end to push up against the open tangs, like so, and you're going to use that to jimmy that out of there. I'm going to show you how that looks now. Alright, so here's our spring housing. Our key is orientated the way that it should be, so the tangs are usually, if the lock was put together right, are usually going to be on the opposite end of your spring housing. So I take the forked end and I find my open tangs. Let me see if I can get this on video. We use our cylinder removal tool to rock out that C-clip. Now you can see the C-clip, I've popped it out of there. Use our cylinder removal tool. Oops, that wasn't supposed to happen. To gently pry your C-clip out. Now we got the C-clip off of our cylinder. Alright, now you got your spring housing and you got your key. When you stick your key in here, your key is going to be in line with your spring housing. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to turn this key 90 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise. I like clockwise. And then now your spring housing and your key are perpendicular. See that? Your spring housing is facing up, your key is going to the side. What I like to do now is rotate the spring housing 90 degrees so that the spring housing faces towards me and your key is orientated up and down. I'm going to take our plug follower. We're going to use the side that's solid without a slot there. And we're going to stick it in there so that it lines up with our cylinder. And with with your key in the perpendicular position like so. Gently push on your follower. Don't pull on the cylinder. Don't pull that key, because otherwise it'll release your top pins. We just remove the cylinder. You can see the pins right there. Just remove the cylinder from its housing. Alright, what we want to do now is we want to empty all those pins out of there. There's 5 of them on this particular setup. Make sure all your pins are out of there. That's all 5 of them. Now the pinholes are empty. That's the last time we're going to need our old key. So put that to the side. We're going to start working with our new key, which was the one with the green tag on it. You got to measure for our pins now. We're going to use our key gauge. I'm going to try to show you this. This is a 5-pin setup, right? So this is what we call the shoulder. It's not a pin setting. This will be pin number 1. That will be pin number 2. That will be pin number 3. That will be pin number 4. And that will be pin number 5. We're going to use our key gauge, and when you do this, you always want to start at the pin position closest to the shoulder. So pin number 1. We got our key gauge here. Let me see if I could demonstrate this. It's for Kwikset and Wiser. It won't work for Schlag, but it's labeled pin 0 through 7. Alright, and the way this works is, let me see if I could do it with a key. We want to start with our pin closest to the shoulder, right? So, let's see if we could do this. We want to slide it all the way until it locks in there pretty tight. You're going to see that I'm between 2 numbers, a 4 and a 5. It's always going to be the number to your right or the smaller number. So in this case, our first pin is going to be a 4. Take a number 4 pin out of my pinning kit. I don't know if you can see that, but they're usually green in color. I'm going to put that where my number 1 pin is going to go, and I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to measure my next pin. Alright. That's in between a 2 and a 1, so it's going to be a 1. My next pin is going to be a 1. So we got 4, 1. Let's keep on going and measure our next setting. We're in between a 4 and a 5. It's going to be the smaller number, so it's going to be a 4 again. Keep on going with our next one. It's in between a 5 and a 6, so it will be a 5. And then we'll go for our last one. It is in between 6 and 7. The smaller number is 6, so it's number 6. I have all my keys, or all my pins, laid out in a line from 1 to 5. We have a 4. We have a 1. We have another 4. We have a 5. And we have a 6. If you did that right, all of your pins will be flush with the cylinder. See that? Nice and smooth, flush with the cylinder. If they're sticking up or if they're recessed into the cylinder, your key won't work to open it. Best case scenario, you'll have a hard time opening it. So, got all my new pins in there with my new key, all nice and flush. Now it's time to put the cylinder back in the housing. Now, the spring housing's normal orientation is to be facing up. Rotate that 90 degrees counterclockwise so that it faces you. Your pins will be facing up in the 12 o'clock position. Put the cylinder in the plug follower and gently push on the cylinder. Now, take your key and rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise so that it is in line with the spring housing. Now it's time to put our C-clamp back on our cylinder to retain the cylinder in the cylinder housing. That just pops right back on there. See, as you can see, this key freely turns the lock, and our old yellow tag key no longer does. Alright, the next step is to put our cylinder housing back into our doorknob. And you'll see it's got these notches here that will correlate with which direction you want to put your spring housing in. Let's just say it goes in this way. We'll pop our cylinder back into our doorknob, and the last step, other than reinstalling the knob obviously, is to put our cylinder or center spindle back in. Make sure your tab is lined up with the screw post once again. Push that in there.